They say you don't become a witch. That it's just one day you wake up and realize that's what you've always been. The one that doesn't always fit in. The one that likes the woods, the sun and sky, cats, owls, and the moon. The one who stays up late reading books, playing role-playing games, and learning the names of the stars. The one that likes to wear black eyeliner, capes. And then you realize, oh, that's what I am. I'm a witch.
Hi. Hey, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. Welcome to the Seekers class. I am Belladonna LaVeau, your hostess, along with my partner, Lady Lola Stardust, and we are so glad to see you again. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. I hear you've been traveling and all the things.
I went to Paris. My son flew me to Paris for his birthday. We were going to go for Christmas, but we decided to go for his birthday instead because the passports came in early, and it was wonderful. We had a great time. What a really good time.
That's amazing.
I ate bread, and it didn't make me feel bad, which is,
I wonder what that means. I probably because European food is not as highly, filled with all the crap. Polluted. Yeah. There's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. I think there's something wrong with American food. I really do. Yeah. After going to Europe, I'm like, yeah, this bread was great. But I had a fantastic time. I got to see the Louvre. Oh, Lola, I got to see the sarcophagus of Triptolemus, which for you guys that are watching, Triptolemus is the guy who went around ancient Greece and taught agriculture to the ancient people at the behest of Demeter. Yep. And he is one of the people represented in Spring Mysteries Festival, which is the continuation of the ancient mysteries of Eleusis. So that was awesome.
I never can say it. What is
it?
That wasn't he the Hierophant for Demeter?
Eumolpus was the Hierophant.
Oh, Eumolpus, that's right. Okay.
Eumolpus was the Hierophant, and Triptolemus he calls himself the governor. The governor of Eleusis. He was more in charge of the secular side of things, the running of the city, where Eumolpus was the religious leader.
Okay, got it. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to see you. I know it's been, December. We always say, I feel like the dark part of the year is our busiest time of the year as witches, because there's a lot going on in this time of year, right?
Well, October and November, it's we're a religion of the West, and it's the season of the West, and a lot of dead things happening. A lot of things need attention.
Yep. And then of course December is all the parties, all the family things, and so I mean there's so many awesome things to go to, but people who are watching, do not feel you have to go to every single one, because you can also take time off, because for some reason we want to be like, I got to go to this one and I got to go to that one, and you'll burn out really quick. I learned that a while ago, that I don't have to say yes to every party, even though I love a good party. But I can say, I'm too tired. I got too much to do. I'm going to, sit this one out.
I never feel obligated to go to parties. That's funny. Like I don't. That's one of the things. That's different. That's funny.
I don't either anymore. I used to feel like, I got to go, because I mean, that's what I do. I like to celebrate.
Well, you have the woo.
I got the woo.
You have the woo.
But sometimes I don't have the woo, Bella. Sometimes the woo just wants to sleep.
I know that's true. Well, Pamela's here, Audrey's here, Amy's here. Yay, everybody. I'm so glad to see you. Woo-hoo. Say hi, drop us a hi, give us a like, give us a heart, share, and let people know that we're online. We're so glad to be here. Happy holidays to everybody. And one of the things that I was sharing with my tradition today, Lola, is some new pagans do not realize this, but Santa Claus is our God. The Christmas tree is an altar to the goddess. We dress her all up. She's the never dying goddess, right? So we dress her all up and we put her under by the fireplace in the house, and we put balls on her to represent fruit, and vines, garland on her to remind her of when the vines were growing upon her, and then little
we lay presents. We lay presents at her feet.
Yep. To express our gratitude, we put a star on top so she can find her way back to summer. And yeah, so all of those things that don't have anything to do with Jerusalem and Nazareth and mangers, donkeys. Well, everything else is pagan.
Well, also, I mean, they just, the birth of Jesus and is pretty much the Sun King coming back to bring us the light. I mean, these are stories and mythologies that have been passed on pre-Christianity. So I know a lot of pagans and witches are like, I don't want to celebrate Christmas because it's a there's too much Christianity in it. And it's like, if you look at it the way you just talked about, it's pagan. So beautiful. We all know it's pagan, but also people are like, no, pagans are like, I want to put a Yule log. I don't want to put a Christmas tree because that's too Christian. It's like, no, it's not. It's the goddess.
It's the goddess. So you can celebrate all of the Christmas things
and not feel you're betraying your paganism.
The only thing is that you got to tell your kids this, okay? So you have to celebrate on the 21st because Santa Claus is our God, and he can't see everybody in one night. So he brings all the pagan babies their presents first, and then he delivers them to everybody else on the 25th.
That's going to make a lot of kids want to be pagan so they can get their Christmas or their gifts early.
I mean, I tell my kids that we celebrate on the 21st. I send them to mom's on the 25th, so
they get ultimate, like 2 sets of gifts. I mean, that's our kids get Yule gifts from us, and then they get Christmas gifts from the aunts and uncles and the grandparents and stuff like that. So they're not complaining.
Right. They get 2 holidays, so it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, Bailey, welcome. We're so glad to have you here.
Welcome.
Yeah, so what we do is we go through the Seekers cards, and we have this fantastic deck of cards, and there's 52 of them, one for every week. And we go through and we talk about what they mean, and they're specific to Wicca and paganism. So what's our card for today, Lady Lola?
It wonderful is karma.
Thank you. Our wonderful producer Isadora is back there working the controls. Thank you, Isadora.
Karma. Isn't that pretty?
That's a pretty card. What goes around comes around.
It does. I feel that, so here's something that was brought up in our Seekers class a few weeks ago when we did this. Do you think that the energy from her heart is going out through the world and coming back into her hand? Or do you think the energy is going out of her hand, going through the world and coming back into her heart? I don't think there's a wrong answer. It's just cool to see the interpretation of what people think.
Yeah, I would say both.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
It looks to me like it's going into less of her heart because her hair's in the way and more of into her shoulder. So I just kind of see it as, what you send out comes back to you.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that it's really interesting what karma is to me, because there's a lot of people that feel like, if you do bad things will happen to you. And I don't think it's that simple. I just don't think karma is that simple. Karma is energy. And I feel like the Temperance card, Brenna Grace says, yeah, it does. It is like the Temperance card. Look at that. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, what sometimes bad things happen, but they're really good things. We just don't know that they're good things at the time. Like, sometimes you run into somebody and you spill coffee all over yourself, and it seems really bad, but then you find out that they own a dress shop and they buy a new outfit, or I don't know, like things happen that you think are bad things when they're actually blessings in disguise. And I think that one of the powerful things about witchcraft is landing on your feet, always looking for the blessing in the curveball. Like, how can I land on my feet? How is this happening for me? So I believe that the universe is happening for you, not to you. And you get out of it what you're putting into it.
Yeah. And it's, I've listened to some people talk about karma and like, oh, cow, that's our little corgi. She's got some karma coming. No, I'm kidding. But I've heard people say, this person in my life, they do terrible things all the time and nothing bad ever happens to them. And it's like, well, you don't know what their life is. You can't be with them 24/7 to find out, if they're getting their, getting their bad karma, which it's not, you never know what's going on. And I don't feel that's a good way to live in life, waiting for bad karma to happen to someone.
No. If you're waiting on bad karma to happen to somebody, it's certainly going to catch up to you too.
Exactly. And that's why I don't think there's good or bad karma. It's like energy, it goes both ways. It's just how you use it. It's like electricity, even, electricity is going to be no matter what, and you can make it go do awesome things. And then you could get electrocuted,
Fish finger in the light socket.
Exactly. And there's your blessing. Like, now you learn, like, don't put your finger in the light socket.
Well, I really do live by the belief that it's all energy and it is what you make of it.
Yep.
And I also am very self-reflective. I'm like, okay, why does this obstacle exist? How did this happen? What did I do to create this? What do I need to do different? I had a really upsetting problem today, this morning. And I was like, but you just have to figure out what it's teaching you and then put that lesson into play. It doesn't mean that you're never going to have the angsty moment, but what you do with the angsty moment, do you create solutions or do you make bigger problems? That's the question.
I love that, because I think people have the wrong concept, or not, they have a misconception about karma. Because I'm always hearing people say, oh, I've got the worst karma. I must have done something terrible in a past life. And sorry, our dog is going crazy. And I just don't feel the universe, like you said, it's working with us, not to us, or happening with us or for us or whatever. I just have a hard time believing that the universe is doling out, because that, to me, that's a little too Christian. You know how they say, oh, you do all these things on earth and then you get to go to heaven and meet your savior, right? I just don't think that our universe is doling out good and bad karma and keeping track with a bean counter, of all the things.
If I believed that, then I would believe that the universe is an evil place, because bad things happen to very innocent people. And I wouldn't be able to reconcile that.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's one of the things. Why do bad things happen to good people? Because bad things happen everywhere. This is life.
because it's good and bad are Christian terms. Mm-hmm. You are not experiencing good and bad things. You're not experiencing good and bad karma. You're experiencing the universe, and it is interacting with you as you are allowing it to, or as you are directing it to, depending on how you look at it. You can wake up every morning and decide it's a shit show and look for all the bad stuff, or you can wake up every morning and count your blessings and focus on those things. They're both there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're going to focus on all the bad things that happen in your life, then that's all you're going to see. It's like the thing that you do, the exercise, what do you say? Look at all the things in the room that are green.
Oh yeah. So we do right now. We do it right now for everybody. Okay. So you guys, so look at everything in your room that's green. Look around and look for everything in your room that's green. And what I'm going to do is we're going to show you how you how you see what you want to see in the world around you. Okay, so now you got everything that's green. Okay, so close your eyes. Close your eyes. Tell me without opening your eyes. Tell you, you don't have to tell me, but what in the room is blue? You don't know because you didn't look for blue.
Mm-mm.
See, that's the thing, is if you're not looking for your blessings, you won't see them. If you get up every morning looking for the next school shooting, you're going to notice a lot of school shootings because they're there. Right?
It is. That is so true. It's what you focus on. Obviously, that's what you're going to see, and that's going to affect your energy, and that's going to affect your mood, and that's going to affect how you greet people on the street, and that's going to affect how you take even the smallest thing, like, oh, this happened to my son, my 20-year-old, the other day. His bank card had a fraud alert on it, and it got blocked, and he's talking on his cell phone to the bank, and they couldn't help him, and he had to come in, and then he's getting mad, and he's walking outside, and then a truck goes by. He's already in a bad mood, and then the water, they went through the puddle, and the water went all over him. He was soaked. So from that point on, he was just focusing on what a crappy last 2 minutes he had. And then he said, and then everything went downhill. How many times does that happen to us? Because that's all we're focusing on. It's good to just sometimes laugh it off and go, well, that happened, So yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You get focused on the negative, and then you're like, wow, there you go. I call that a Wittershin's spiral. One of the things that we liked to do back in the day when we were doing things in person is you get a big bowl of water and you poke it in the center, and you watch the ripples go out and come back and go out and come back. And I believe that what karma is that every time you make a choice, you open and close doors. Mm-hmm. And then you make another choice and you open and close doors. And so as you open and close doors, you get further away from some choices because those choices move themselves out of the range of your opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So you get up and go to work every day. You you move closer to stability and further away from homelessness. You do that for 20 years. You've got a big bank account. You've got savings. You're so far away from homelessness.
Yeah.
Right. But if you get up every morning and go, do I feel like going to work today, or should I quit my job? I might quit my job. You're going to stay closer to homelessness. I used to do that when I was younger. I'd wake up and be like, do I want to go to work today? I learned that wasn't a successful lifestyle, so I stopped doing that.
Oh, yeah. Right?
Yeah. But that's karma.
Yeah.
You reap the rewards of what you do. You don't go to work, you don't get a paycheck, you lose your house.
Yep. You can't sit around and wait for good, quote unquote, good things to happen to you. Because a lot of witches sometimes think, well, if I just do my abundance spells and I just, wish for it really hard, I could sit, and it's like, no, sometimes you got to do a spell to get you motivated to go out and do the thing to get the thing that you need. Right. So it's about taking action too. So karma is not just sitting and having it happen. I'm so sorry to hear the dog. She needs to be played with right now.
Well, karma is the results of your actions.
Yes.
Karma is the results of your actions, and inaction gains results.
Yep, absolutely. And I have a note here that I really like. Karma doesn't, where is it at? I just read it and I thought, ooh. Karma doesn't always turn out the way we wanted. And like you said, you could sit there and, do your charitable work. You could sit there and do, give to charities and work in the soup kitchen, help feed some hungry kids, treat people well, do these things, and, you want to pay it forward and you want to put that energy out, and there's been times when, we've done things like that and we get that energy back in return and it's wonderful. Maybe when we're short on a bill, we have someone like, I'll get a reading that I get to do a tarot reading for exactly how much I was short on that bill. Stuff like that kind of happens and works out, But then, like, if it is, you might get something that's like, oh, I wasn't expecting this gift of, I don't know, a beautiful ornament to hang on my tree or something. And it's like, well, what am I going to do with an ornament? I'm hungry and I'm short on a bill. Well, you know what? It brings you joy. You get to hang it on your tree. It changes your mood. Like, whatever. It's nice, but it may not be the karma you expected. Also, the obstacles that happen. Nobody expects that. You could be living your life chaos free and trying to do the right thing. And of course, life's going to throw you a curveball. And what are you going to do with that curveball?
Right. Makes you grow. Your character is not determined in your mistake, but in what you do after you make your mistake.
Yeah.
So absolutely. What if we don't know any spells? Audrey wants to know. It doesn't matter. Karma doesn't care if you know any spells, but the way you think is the mindset is a good part of witchcraft.
Yeah. I mean, we do spell work. Yeah, it's fun to do all the spell work and whatnot, but we're doing spell work constantly with what we say, what our intent is, what the energy we put out, how we affect other people in our daily lives. That's magic. That's spell work. Because if you have that intention and you'll notice that if you go out and you might say something to someone and they might take offense to it because, gosh knows that I sometimes can be just very inappropriate at times. And I do it in good humor. And sometimes my humor is not understood by others. And that's okay. And I've offended some people. But then it makes me realize, like, hey, you know what? Maybe that joke that I've been telling for 20 years is not maybe a very good joke to be telling, or whatever the saying is. And so I look back on it, and rather than say, well, whatever, I'm like, oh, I might need to be more aware of the words that I say, And so it's little things like that could change your attitude about things. And that's magic. And that's working towards karma.
Yes, being aware of yourself and how she enjoys being offended by you. That's one of the reasons why we're such good friends, Lola, is we're both obnoxious.
You're very obnoxious.
I love you so much, though. Never too much for me.
That's good.
Karma, it has a way of uplifting you when you do have difficult times. If you're used to things going for you, if you have a positive outlook and you have faith and you believe things are gonna go okay, karma has a way of bringing comfort to you. You're like, okay, I know that I've done everything I can and Goddess is going to take care of me. I know that things happen to make me stronger, and I believe that I'll be okay and I'll get through this. I think a lot of times when we don't believe in ourselves is because we haven't really acted in a way that has built up trust, trust that we're going to be okay, because we haven't taken care of ourselves, or we've made bad decisions in the past. And those kinds of things make it more difficult, which lead to that karmic backlash. Even when things are going great, if you think that they're not, they're not.
Yeah, exactly. I feel, for me, the energy and the things that happened to me, the things I did in my past, I love to tell this story because it's how I look at my life. When I was in my 20s and I was a big party girl, and I made some bad decisions with drugs and alcohol. And I remember, it got pretty dark, and then I went into outpatient treatment. And in that outpatient treatment, they put me into a job seeking, area where I could find a job. They helped train me for a job, get me back out into society. And, all the stress and the court dates I had, and the, stuff with legal things. And, it was really dark and stressful for me. And then I went into this work, I think it was called Work Source program. And I met my oldest son's dad, which I never would have met him anywhere else because we had nothing in common. He was a small town boy, nothing. We would have never met. And we met and we connected, and I got pregnant with my oldest son, Michael. And Michael pretty much saved my life because once I got pregnant, it was really easy for me to stay sober and be focused. And so I would never do things differently. Like if someone said, if you could go back, I mean, wouldn't you get rid of those dark times with when you were a drug addict and all that stuff? And I'm like, gosh, no, because one, it's made me who I am. And two, the chain of events that happened brought me to my son, and the job that I got, I met my husband Phil at, and we discussed. So things, some people don't like when you say things happen for a reason, but
well, I mean, that's witchcraft. I think that some people just don't want to believe that things happen for a reason, but dang, I mean, that's witchcraft.
it is absolutely.
Yeah. People don't like the toxic positivity. That's when, if somebody just lost their dog and you're like, everything happens for a reason. Well, that's not the nice thing to say at the time.
No.
Every principle of witchcraft can be abused. Every principle of witchcraft can be abused. That doesn't mean that things don't happen for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and yay.
Oh, thank you.
I'm glad you're enjoying us, Bailey. Yeah. Okay, so if I got this reading, if I got this card in a reading,
oh yeah,
I would think that I'm about to be blessed because I work really hard doing the right thing every day. And I would feel like, oh, I must be going to get rewarded for all my hard work.
Yeah, and while everyone's looking at the card, put your comments in, and if you got this card today as a 1-card reading, go ahead and type in there what you think it would mean for you. For me, it just reminds me of my intent. It just reminds me of my energy, and maybe sometimes it's the dark time of year. There's things that happen. We have a very sick dog right now. Our old dog Chanel is she's old. She had a stroke. She's blind. She's all the things, which is crazy because last December is when my dear dog Ziggy passed away, and I'm like, what the heck? I've got a mom who I lost my dad not too long ago. My mother is now deteriorating. There's a lot happening, and sometimes it's easy for me to feel sorry for myself, to just be like, when am I going to catch a break? You know what I mean? Like, can I have a rest from and I could go down that road really easy. This card reminds me, hey, you know what? Just keep being you, keep doing the things that you're doing, keep bringing joy to yourself and to others. Take comfort in the people that love you and are going to be there for you. And that really helps my energy. And so just be very aware of the energy I'm putting out. And I think it's okay to feel sad. I'm not saying no one be upset or mad or sad, but you could go real deep into that, and then it changes your energy you put out.
Yeah, that is a good card. When you pull that card, that it is important to go, okay, what am I putting out here? Because sometimes we can be very unaware.
My husband just said, when you talk about those dark places, you can visit, but don't like buy real estate in that section. Visit, don't. What'd you say?
Visit, don't reside.
Visit, don't reside. So
did he get the pictures that Dusty sent to him from the Louvre?
No.
I haven't got anything from Dusty.
No pictures.
Oh man, we found a statue of
Silenus?
Silenus. We found the statue of Silenus.
Okay, you need to just send them to me in a messenger chat, and I'll get them to
we
them.
will. We had to take so many pictures. They were closing the Louvre on us, and so we had to just run around and take pictures like crazy. And I had to take pictures of the sarcophagus of Triptolemus because that's a real thing. Like, the statue of Venus is the statue of what somebody feels like Venus looks like, but the sarcophagus of Triptolemus was Triptolemus.
Definitely have a
Silenus.
Yeah, and that's so awesome. Yay.
Yes, we thought that was awesome. Okay, so Pamela says, what strikes me about the card is her body positioning, that she's facing it with wide eyes open and open hands and hand on heart. She is receptive to what is out there. Nice.
Adri says, for me, I've had a lot of bad happen in my life, yet I continue to try to be positive. For me, I think it would mean that all the good I put out will be returned. Yep.
Nice. Yeah.
I like that. And then we got someone getting back what I put out and learning things that I need to work on going forward. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
You guys just interpreted a card. There's so many people that when we do this section that have said, "Oh, I don't know how to read cards." And I'm like, "You don't have to." You just look
what does this mean to you?
What does it mean
Right.
to you? It can mean anything. So
right. And by looking into that, it cultivates depth, and that's what you're going for. You're cultivating depth. So find the meaning within. Speaking of the meaning within, I'm going to tell you a little bit because your birthday is coming up. So I want to tell you a little bit about my birthday magic that I do.
Oh,
your birthday.
You talking about my birthday?
Your birthday, Capricorn.
I know. It's in
Your
January.
birthday's coming up. Well,
Yeah.
so my beautiful son, who flew me to Paris because he works at Cirque du Soleil, he grew up with all my magic, and he's like, "Mom, I don't know what my lesson for the year is." And it reminded me that every year and Brenna knows this, when your birthday comes around, I ask you, what did you learn this year? And it's related to your numerological age. So, whatever age you are, you add those two numbers together and you come up with the number. That's what, you look at the lesson. And so we spent a couple of days trying to figure out what Tot's lesson was. And he decided that he learned that he needed to lean in to his opportunities, So that was really cool because that's what he had done all year. He said, I leaned in and I was successful. So think about when you have a birthday, right as you're coming up to that birthday, it'll climax. It'll be like, this is the lesson. Don't miss it. Right.
Ooh, yeah.
And then figure out what your lesson is, because then you get your level up.
Yeah.
Just like
so
video games.
Is it the age that you're turning and you add those
No,
up?
it's the age you are now.
Oh, because you're looking at what you learned. Okay, so
you're learning at what you learned this year, right?
So I'm a 6 because I'm 51. That's 6. So
Brenda's like, I turned 33. 3 is truth and 6 is love, and I got married this year. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6. Yeah, 6 is love for me, and I can tell you already. It's been a beautiful year of testing our love and growing our love, and that makes perfect sense. I like that.
Cool. So that's a little bit of birthday magic. What's our next card? Producer is Adora.
I gotta share it.
With her. Okay.
I gotta share it with her first. So let me get that. We got to do the technical stuff. I'm sure there's a quicker way to do this, but you could just listen to me babble while I do it. Okay,
hang on. We got a question. So, I'm 58. So 58 is what, 13?
Yeah, which 13. Is 4.
So 13 is rebirth and regeneration, and you can reduce it also down to 4, which is resolving conflict. So those are going to be the 2 things that I'm working on this year.
So yours is.
I'm double numbers, so I'm 44.
You're 44, so you're 8.
I'm 8, but yeah, also 4 plays in 6 is both the same number.
You do, yeah. 8. Isn't 8 career and
8 is career. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. We're just excited. This is so cool. I never.
Fun? Yeah, Witchcraft is fun. Yay, ancestors.
Yay. Oh, isn't that awesome? I love this card so much because it just it gives me the warm feelings inside.
Well, you know what I really love about ancestral awareness is that we are our parents 2.0, and our kids are going to be doing our lives. Like I watch Luoxana, who's my oldest daughter, she just is living my life. I'll be like, okay, this is what's going to happen next, Lucy.
Yeah.
We call her Lucy because that's short for Lucifer, which is her true name.
Yeah. That makes sense.
She's terminally pretty and constantly Luoxana.
Yeah.
So she she's doing my life. And when watch my mother's life of what I remember, like I remember milestones in my mother's life. And when I came up to those milestones, I had those same challenges and I looked at what my mother did. And sometimes I did the exact same thing, even though I had judgment of my mother doing it. I now from the other side understood why she made that choice and could then forgive her and work through my own mama trauma. Or I could make a different choice and see what happened that way. So if you look at what your parents' life was, and you can also look at your kids' life, and help them. I said, Lucy, this was going to happen next. I married a bodybuilder. I did all these things.
Oh, and you have it's almost like you have, I look at my kids' lives, and like our oldest son, Michael, is living out with his girlfriend and all the things. There's so many things. And I sometimes wish I had a videotape to show of the thing, like what I did and what happened. And it's like, I could just show you the movie of my life and you'll see that.
My daddy used to say that. My daddy would say, you think that you came up with all of this, but you're just doing me. I made all this up.
Yeah.
Oh man, you don't know anything, right?
But you just gotta let them learn their lesson, and because they're gonna deal with it either the way we did or totally opposite, which is kind of what I've done with because I've had some things that have happened that I go, oh my God, that's my mom or whatever. I'm very, very different from my mother. Very, very different. Like my mother doesn't swear. She can't talk about sex. She barely drinks. She's very quiet and demure. I'm my dad's daughter, definitely.
Well, you have the body side of Capricorn. Capricorn's either really, really strict or straight over into taboo. And so, so you went on to that other side, which, we love that for you. And for the rest of us too. So the thing that I love about this particular card is, we all have body dysmorphia and we don't know how pretty we are. Right? Like none of us that we all think, oh, I'm not so pretty. My lovely Brenna Grace, who's in the chat with us here, she's like, oh, I'm not so pretty. And I'm like, well, your sister's pretty. And she's like, well, yeah, my sister's gorgeous. I'm like, well, you don't look almost just alike, although I think you're prettier than her. Yeah. And I was like, what? So when I see my children's pictures or my mom's pictures, and I know that I look like them, because when I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh, hey, mom, my mother's beautiful and my children are beautiful. But when I look in the mirror, I don't see beautiful. I see big nose and, I see different things, right? Mm-hmm. We all have the things that we complain about with our face. So when you look at your children and your parents and you think they're beautiful, and then you know that you look like that, right?
Unless you're my mom. My mom is a Leo, and she's very vain. My mom used to say to me that she was the most beautiful of all the siblings. She was the most beautiful. Like she just knew she was good.
Oh my God, how old is your mom? Because my mother's a Gemini and she did the same thing. My sisters will never measure up to me. I'm the oldest and the prettiest and the smartest and
yeah. And you're focusing. Oh, look at Pam saying you're focusing on what's green and not seeing the rest.
There you go. You're focused on what's green and not seeing the rest. That's right, Pamela.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
I love it. But we were talking about children today. Children really show you where your shadows are. They'll go to play school and say the things that you say around the house, and then the teacher will come up to you and say, your kid said this today.
Yeah. Well, we have a son, a 15-year-old son who deals with a lot of anxiety and depression and has a really hard time with it. And there are things that he does and says that challenge me in my confidence in parenting. And I know that I'm a good parent. I know that my kids love me and I love my kids and I'm doing the best I can. But man, I've never had such imposter syndrome as a parent when you see your child suffering and there's nothing you can do about it. And I instantly go to, I should have done this. I should not have spoiled him. I shouldn't have coddled him. I should have taught, I'm a terrible parent. And it sucks because I'm
Well,
like,
the woulda, coulda, shouldas. The woulda, coulda, shouldas, no matter what it is. That's just, that's wasted energy right there. You can't.
Yeah,
Did you do your
exactly.
best? If you did your best, then you did your best. That's all there
That's
is
all
to
you
it. You can't. There's
all you
nothing
can
else
do.
you can do. You did your best every day.
So I
But
want to
yeah,
I want to
it
ask you
does.
something about ancestors. So the more this topic comes up, I always mention that, you know, I don't know, and I know that this isn't just this kind of ancestors, but it's a beginning. I don't know a lot about my genealogy and my ancestors. My parents never talked to us about, oh, and your great 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 aunt Sylvia used to do. And I know about my immediate family and maybe some grandparents and maybe some aunts and uncles, but we weren't really close to the extended family. It was really just the five of us, me and my two siblings and my mom and dad, and then our kids, obviously, and our spouses, and maybe our spouses' extended family, but not. We just don't know a lot about our ancestors. I couldn't tell you a thing about my ancestors, so I used to think I don't have a connection to my ancestors. And then I realized, I go, yeah, I do, because they're with you, they're with us, and they don't have to be blood. They can be magical ancestors. They can be just people that were important in your life. They could be come up and show you things that you're like, I didn't know this ancestor existed, but I feel guided by something. Do you agree with that?
So there was a lot to unpack there.
Ta-da!
So first of all, you know, I was raised Mormon, and we might be weird about a lot of kooky shit, but genealogy they've got down, right?
Oh yeah.
So I know I'm 1/8 Cherokee. My mother has traced us all the way back to calling me saying, I see where you get it from. You got it honest. We got a Druid priest king way back in the 800 ADs, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I would consider looking at one of those genealogy packets, you know, like you go in and you sign up for, because the Mormons have already connected everybody and way back, okay, like way back, and they're already on the software, so you don't have to even do the work. Just log in and see who your people are. I think that that's really powerful. But yeah, they're with you no matter what.
Yeah.
They care about you. Every time we have a seance, I do not expect any of my people to show up.
Yeah.
And my grandfather comes every time. He wants a cigarette and a beer. He's like, beer and cigarette, please. It is my yearly thing. No, I want you to hit it for me. I can't hit it. I got COPD.
Yeah.
Never want to smoke so bad in my life as on Samhain. And,
Yeah.
you know, and other people come through too. And I think that being able to just sit with and listen to and not judge it, not question it. Ooh, that's too cool. That can't possibly be me. That's what I always do. Oh, it couldn't be this kind of a person because that's too cool. Well, I'm super cool. So all of the cool shit happens to me. That's how I've had to decide that, you know, all of the cool shit happens to me. Otherwise, I just discount all the neat spiritual stuff that I get, right? I mean,
Yeah.
don't you, Lola? Like, you have to accept that that's the thing. Brenda said, I did my ancestry recently, and it was so different than any of my family thought, like to the point I'm going to get another kind done to make sure they didn't give me the wrong results. Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
I think the DNA tests are really cool too, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the genealogy websites where you put your name in and your husband's information and your parents' information, and then suddenly they've got all of the people that, you know, you were actually because John Smith is like my family name. John Smith, John Smith, John Smith. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe we need Pocahontas because we got a lot of John Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, and I when you said, it's funny when you said the Mormons do all the genealogy. That is so true, because when I used to work at the library, and this was back in the 80s, like or not 80s, but the when was it was the 80s. I late 80s, early 90s. I worked at the library, and this was before everything was automated, and they actually had a genealogy section, and they had the women that volunteered there and did genealogy, and they were all Mormon. And I thought,
Yeah.
is this a thing? Like,
Oh yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. They're real big into it. And it's there's a whole lot of reasons why Mormonism, it's that mostly they want to baptize the dead so that they can all go to heaven. You can't go to the celestial kingdom if your whole family isn't there with you. And so I mean, that's a real limiting kind of thing. I mean, really, if you think about that, we're all connected. That's one of those weird religious things that make me go, I mean, like, which part of your family, like, there's a lot of people, you guys, like father, grandfather, great grandfather, like, where does extended families? Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. You get a whole planet. So
yeah.
I don't know, but I do know that my mother Faye came through and told me that Luoxana was my mother Jenny, who was my father's mother. And I thought that was really interesting because Mother Jenny passed away and before I had Luoxana, and she loved my hands. She would always be like, I love your hands so much. I love your hands. We were super, super, super close. Like, I loved that woman. And when Luoxana she would put her hand down by mine and say, whose hand is that? Whose hand is that? And and she just does some of the similar things.
Yeah.
And so when Mother Faye came through, she like got in my face and she's like, I'm like, what are you doing? You know how we are. They've got important messages to tell us. And we're like, am I having a spiritual moment? What's going on?
Or am I hallucinating?
Am I hallucinating?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my mother Faye, her name is Ella Faye. All of my mother's side of the family are these little swarthy people that are like 5'2". They look like they grew up under a barometric pressure. And my grandmother's name is literally Faye, F-A-E. And I finally figured out that she was a fairy and that's what me and my daddy be at family events, and I can see him and he can see me, and then there's everybody. Like, that's awesome. What's wrong with you, Daddy? You married a bunch of dark fairies. What are you doing? They're from Wales and everything.
So do you believe in ancestral curses or ancestral things? That do we need ancestral healing? I know there's people that work in that, or do you feel that that's something? I mean, I don't want to.
Brenna said something really interesting.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, Brenna. So we believe in the Wise tradition that when you get burnt, that's your ancestors trying to get your attention.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're trying to get your attention. And when you get burned really bad, then they, you really need to look at what's going on. So yeah. So thank you, Brenna. Yes, that is your ancestors trying to talk to you. And when you get cut, that's things coming to an end. That's the cutter. That's a completely different conversation. But yeah. We don't talk about the cutter in witchcraft anymore today, but that was a real big thing back in the day. Probably because there are actually people that
do that.
So the language changes over time. But I believe that our ancestors are with us all the time. Ancestor worship is a thing. Yeah. There are ancestor gods, there are star deities, planets and stars, and there are land deities. Ancestor deities are like Caridwen, Odin. Those are ancestor deities, right? Yeah. They were real people that did something pretty amazing and have been deified over time. Marie LaVeau, my namesake.
Yeah.
She's been deified over time, right?
Wasn't Balbo an ancestral
Balbo is
deity?
an
Yep.
ancestor. Yep, and
Yep.
they've got statuary to her. There's
Yeah.
ancestor worship to Balbo.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's somewhere in my lineage because she speaks to me all the. That's where the inappropriate, loud, body humor comes from. I'm very
So
aware of that.
Lola got to be the vessel of Balbo in Spring Mysteries Festival. And Lola was already an amazing personality. But once Balbo got a hold of her, Lola found the stage. She has not been the same since. And it is a blessing and an asset to all of us.
She got me working with her that whole year, got me to get on stage and do burlesque, and I haven't looked back. That was all Balbo. That was all Balbo. Yep.
That's the wonderful thing about Spring Mysteries is your ancestors. Okay, so like Spring Mysteries Festival, we bless you with the energy of all of the people that have done it before you. And so there's all of this energy behind it. And in witchcraft, we say, you say it this way because all of these other witches have said it this way. So you do it this way because it gathers all of their energy. When you're working with ancestors, you're gathering the energy of all of the people. Like you have culture in your family that's unique. You eat certain foods, you do certain things. The way I crack my eggs was taught to me by my mother, Jenny, right? And I taught it to Lucy. And there's a way to do things, and we do those things because we were taught to do that. That's how we do that in this family. Yeah, there are other ways to do it. This is how we do it here. And those things get power.
I like the cultural ancestry because even though I said I don't know a lot about my ancestors, I do have a Mexican mother who there's a lot of things that we grew up with that were very, very Mexican that I did not realize because that's just what was in our house until I got older and I would see how other people did it. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I would find out that, that's a very cultural, a very Hispanic way to do things. So I do feel a connection to that. And as I get older, I feel that connection even more and more because I'm proud of that, so me saying I don't feel my ancestors, I think that, and I'm learning to reword that. They are with me and I open myself up to them. They're gonna come to me. So,
Lola, I think that's part of the colonization too. We talk about how the natives are colonized, but the Hispanic people were colonized, African people were colonized, European people were colonized. We don't know our history. We don't know our ancestors. All of us have been disrupted and we don't know the stories of our people. And when you don't know the stories of your people, you can be told anything about your history and you don't know who you are. And that gives you just a little bit of a weakness.
It does.
You don't know who you are. And that is how you subjugate people.
Yeah. So you gotta,
you need your roots.
If you're curious, do the research, because we have this wonderful thing called the internet. Like I said, back in the 80s, I wasn't going to, they like literally had books and books and books and a whole section. Now you can just, like you said, you can just type it in and find out your ancestors and your lineage and all that. And I think that's really awesome that you can do that. So
me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Thank goodness. So if you were to pull this card, what would you think? I would think that my ancestors were trying to talk to me and I needed to sit down before I got burnt and listen.
Right?
Yeah. Like, okay.
Don't get burned. Yeah. While we're talking about this, make sure you viewers put it in the comments. If you got this card, what would it mean to you? For me, I think it's just telling me yet again, it's like, Lola, you don't have to know who they are because they're with you, because that's what this card looks like. I mean, look at all the different generations of these women that are behind like this modern girl right here, because she's got her cell phone and her coffee, and it just, she has no idea that they're or maybe she does know that, but I think it's a beautiful feeling that they're always with us. They're always with us.
I always like to think of the Mulan movie with those ancestors all fighting. We will send the great Stone Dragon.
Yes, that's a really good scene. I love that.
Yes.
Brenna says I need to get me an Oracle deck with an Ancestors card. Clearly, yep, absolutely. So yeah, I also think that when we were talking about ancestral curses or ancestral healing, there are some people that know about their ancestors. I've met some people, and they have ancestors like we all do that didn't do very nice things to people.
Yes.
And I think we all, I know we all have ancestors that didn't do nice things to people. I think it would be impossible not to have that. So, but I do know people.
I've done not nice things to people. I mean, yes, we
Yeah.
I don't even have to go to ancestors.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you could just look back, but
we
some
all
people
have things we need to be forgiven for.
It really affects them. And I think, for those who feel, I know a woman who just this topic was hard for her because she found out some things that her ancestors did that were terrible. And she's like, I don't want to be connected. And I'm thinking that, you kind of have to forgive them to forgive yourself on certain things. And that's where some healing could come in. I think that's a good way to work with ancestors too, is maybe just get some closure and healing. Also,
what I have to say about that is probably the reason that you feel so strongly against that is because they feel so regretful and they don't want anybody in their line to ever have to experience that again.
And you're carrying that with you. I think that actually makes sense. And that might be something I'll tell this person, that you might be carrying the guilt. You might be carrying the guilt and the heaviness. And that's why there's,
Yeah, they might be putting that on you too. They might be like, anytime you see that, this is bad, ooh.
Yeah.
Because there are things that I feel very strongly about that I know has happened to people in my past. And and I'm pretty sure that that's because I've learned that lesson. And there are things that I've done from past lives that I know about that I'm like, okay, don't want to do that anymore. Right. So we learn and we grow. And you always have to remember, you guys, you always have to remember that people make mistakes. Everybody does. Everybody does.
Absolutely. Nobody's perfect.
You can only be responsible for you.
Well, this was awesome. And I think it's interesting that we're doubling up on conversations and it's karma and ancestors. Cause I think
that worked.
I think that worked really well. Yeah. Because there is things that sometimes there's ancestral karma, karma from something a long time ago. And I think that makes perfect sense. It kind of worked out good.
Well, I have had so much fun. I missed you, Lola. I missed everybody. It's good to get to see you again. I did not miss you last week because I was in Paris, but all the other weeks I missed you.
I know. There was so much going on, but of course I would not expect you to miss me last week. If I was in Paris, Bella, I would not miss you.
I thought of you.
Okay.
I thought of you with love.
Thank you.
So we will see you next week when we go live at 5, and we'll be covering 2 cards to make up for the, I don't know, 5 weeks that we took off.
We had some time off. Next week we're going to talk about divination and lucid dreaming.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm a dream walker. We're both dream walkers. See, that's fun.
I love it. Yeah,
that's fun. I love you, Lola. I love you guys. Happy
Bye,
magic,
everyone.
See you next week.